Amanda. As you know, I am so excited to start my week with you because guess what? Doing this meal planning class on Mondays is forcing me back into the habit of truly laughing because my son hasn't been talking at all from work and now he's talking on the phone. So forgive me. But I'm super excited to do this with you because it is forcing me back into my best habits for meal planning. And so typically in my life, I've done a lot of this on Sundays, right? Especially when my kids were little, because if I didn't have it figured out on Sundays, then it was all downhill. That was just a hot mess, right? But now that my kids are grown and it's more about me focusing on my work throughout the week, I'm doing this on Mondays because I found that on Sundays I can kind of like clean out my fridge or look at where we are with things and then reevaluate for the week. And I'm going to take you through what I did yesterday versus what I'm doing today. And I've got an entire week's worth of meals planned, and they're all coming from my book, Homemade Simple. And one of them I'm making up on the fly here. So I'm going to start by just putting these egg bites, these imaginary egg bites, in the oven, and they're going to bake while we do the rest of the meal planning. And then we're going to see what I think because I'm totally making this up as I go today. So let me just get a width because that is what I'm going to need. Um, so we're going to start with this one recipe, and then I'm going to show you how all of these ingredients cascade into different recipes for the week. Okay. My son Connor bought this beautiful pesto last night for my sheet pan halibut with spring vegetables and pesto. This is from our market buy right. And you only need like a couple of tablespoons per recipe. And so I was so psyched because we used 2 or 3 tablespoons last night. And I love pesto, and this is fresher and better than, if you don't want to dirty up your whole kitchen, this is just like the cleanest ingredients and it's so fantastic. So I'm going to use it to put in some egg bites, just for a total protein hit this week, right? So here's what I did this morning, and I timed myself because I wanted you all to see how long it would take. I cracked 6 eggs, and then I took 4 egg whites on top of it for extra protein, put them all in here. So 6 eggs, 4 egg whites, 3/4 of a cup of cottage cheese, and 3 tablespoons of pesto. That's all I've done so far, okay? But I have this fresh mozzarella that I bought for something, and I can't remember what. And I need to use the rest of it. So I am just tearing off a piece of this fresh mozzarella and I'm putting it in the bottom of each egg bite. So hopefully what happens is it melts and each one gets this little gooey moment, right? So, and I already sprayed these with some organic oil of some sort, that is better for us than like a Pam or any of those other sprays. So I don't need to use all of that cheese. I can use it in something else too, but this cheese is fresh and goes bad pretty quickly. So that's why I wanted to make sure I used it pretty quickly as well. Okay, so all I did was whisk the eggs, the egg whites, cottage cheese, and the pesto together. Why did I use egg whites instead of just all eggs? I need to go get my cholesterol checked. I don't think there's a lot that we're still learning about cholesterol and how it processes in your body. And for so long, eggs got a bad rap for having so much cholesterol. I don't think that real ingredients are the problem. However, I'm hedging my bets and I want to get extra protein. So I'm just going to, that one's going to be super poofy. I only want these to be about 2/3, 3/4 of the way filled because they're going to be, they're going to poof. And I've preheated the oven at 350 degrees, okay? And these should only take about, less than 30 minutes. How am I doing on measuring? Let's find out. Am I going to run out? If I run out, that means I have put too much in each one and all. Yep, I'm going to run out. Maybe on the last one. I need enough for one more, so I'm going to, nope, hold on. These are almost perfect. I just do one that's over 5. And I'm going to take let me get a spoon and I'm going to transfer some from one and do another. Actually, like a little spoon or something. I just need to make a little, watch this. Boop. We're just going to even them out a little bit. It's going to be a super fun experiment. Now, if you were wanting to be super careful about everything having the exact same amount of egg and cottage cheese, you can certainly do that. Like keep whisking along the way. These are a little bit more. cottage cheese heavy because it sank to the bottom, right? So I'm just being silly and trying to measure these, make them kind of equal, right? So they're all the same size, but they're going to get pretty poofy and then they'll fall back down because I don't have like a natural leavener in there, or I didn't whip the egg whites to make them stay poofy like a little cube souffle or something. Okay. But here they are. So these are 12 egg whites, and quickly I'm going to put them in the oven, and then we're going to figure out how much protein is in each one of these. Um, don't must be whittling through. Okay, I'm going to set the timer for 20, but I know they're going to take longer than this. All right. So we've got those going. But let's just think this through really quickly. Good morning, everybody who's joined. If I have, there's 6 grams of protein in one egg, and I used 6 times 6 is 36, 6 eggs. And then I think the majority of the protein is in the egg white. So we're going to just call it 5 grams for those other 4. Let's call it 20 grams for the other ones I use. So that's 56 grams of protein. And then for the cottage cheese, let's see here. I've got, I need my glasses all the time now. Okay, protein, 13 grams and a half cup. And I used 3/4 of a cup. So 13 plus 6.5 is 19. Let's call it 20 grams. Let's just be generous, right? I used probably more than 3/4 of the cup anyhow. 76, 12 times 6 is 72. So let's 12 times 6, 72. So 6.3 grams of protein per egg bite. And I would call realistically 2 to 3 of these would be like my first round of a breakfast, right? So 12 to, oh, that's still weird. Can you guys see what I'm doing? It says that I'm not connected to the internet. I sure hope that it's working okay. Um, so let's say I do 12 to 18 grams of protein for this part of breakfast. That's a decent start. But I think the other thing I would look at if I were doing this for breakfast is just doing like a cup of bone broth, like we've talked about so much. So it's got about like 10 to 14 grams of it. So, or you could do something else for breakfast that's got a little bit more, or a snack kind of quickly after that, right? So you're starting the day out with enough protein. Um, but that's a pretty good start. And then things are made, and I don't have to worry about waking up and being like, oh my God, what am I going to do right now? I do this, and I do a lot of the Greek yogurt with nuts and seeds and berries on them. So we're going to see how these turn out. And if I like them, I will print the recipe for you, or I'll write it up um, for House of Haas members in the recipe section on Substack. Okay. So let me just get rid of this mess, and we're going to roll into the actual meal planning, which I've had so much fun with today, strangely. And I'm going to move you over to like my little chalkboard area. Hold on. Put my ingredients away. I'm so excited, you guys. For those of you who are new here or hearing what I'm doing, I'm doing 2 cooking classes, meal planning, cooking classes a week. And then on Tuesdays, I'm doing classes where we talk about a specific cook's tool. And then on Thursdays, I'm doing my talk show. And this week, I'm hosting someone, a divorce attorney. She's absolutely incredible. And she has her own series on Sirius XM called Just Jenny, and she's amazing. And I just wish everybody who's had to transition